Russian occupiers attempted to break through Ukraine's state border in the Kharkiv region. The Russians attacked Ukrainian military positions in the areas of Zybino and Krugli. However, according to the press service of the Joint Forces Group, the enemy did not succeed. Ukrainian units managed to stop the invaders' assault groups. Meanwhile, operators from the Ukrainian National Guard Special Unit Lazar's Group carried out an effective strike with a heavy bomber drone on an air defense missile system launcher, the S-400 in the Belgorod region. The operation was conducted together with the separate Achilles Battalion of Unmanned Systems and the Joint Forces Group of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. In the North Slobozhansky and Kursk directions, border guard operators from the Stalovi Cordon used strike UAVs to destroy a Russian infantry fighting vehicle and eliminated 3 occupiers. They also destroyed an autonomous mobile video and thermal imaging surveillance system, Murom-M, and 2 antennas. And border guards from the destruction team unit in that same North Slobozhansky sector struck the enemy's electronic warfare and reconnaissance equipment. In addition, Ukrainian defenders destroyed UAV control antennas and a Russian shelter. In the South Slobozhansky direction, Ukrainian border guards have been effectively reducing the number of weapons, equipment, and personnel of the Russian army for several days now. In particular, drones from the Fury Reconnaissance and Strike UAV unit of the Guard Brigade are striking enemy groups, leaving the Russians no chance to cross the Ukrainian border.
We have had successes, especially during the winter campaign. We managed to push the enemy back in the south, to liberate Ukrainian territory, and to inflict losses on Russian troops. As a result, we see that Russia has not captured the Donetsk region. They have not created a foothold for themselves to move from tactical to operational offensives in the Zaporizhia direction, even though those were their stated goals. Right now, Russian troops have not abandoned their objectives of advancing, but with the forces they have, they are unable to achieve their goals the way they would like to. This is in part due to the effective defensive actions of the Ukrainian forces.
In the Kostyantynivka direction, Russian occupiers carried out offensive actions in the areas of the settlements of Plesheyevka, Sherbanovka, Ilyanovka, Rusinyar, and Sofievka. In the Pokrovsk sector, the enemy tried to push Ukrainian soldiers from their positions in the areas of Nekonorivka, Rodinske, Hryshine, Udachne, Marovka, Molodetske, and toward Krasny Liman. And in the Huliaipole direction, the Russian army attacked near the settlements of Dobropilya, Zaleznichne, and Mirne. At the same time, fighters from the 7th Rapid Response Corps of the Air Assault Forces are noting signs that the enemy is preparing to intensify combat operations. The Russian army is planning to expand its offensive at the beginning of spring, so for several months it has been stockpiling resources in the area for future use. The enemy's goal is to advance toward Hryshine, northwest of Pokrovsk. Fighting continues in the eastern part of the city. The aggressor is also not giving up attempts to capture Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. However, Ukrainian forces are holding their positions in the northern outskirts of both settlements.
Right now, we see that Russian troops are trying to continue offensive actions on the front line. Nevertheless, it's worth noting that Ukrainian forces have also been conducting active operations. Actions in the mode of active defense, which this is constantly emphasized and confirmed by the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, General Syrsky, that our defense is active. And as soon as opportunities arise and there are enough forces and resources, our troops counterattack, carry out counteroffensive actions, and liberate Ukrainian territory.
In the Donetsk region, the border guard UAV pilots from the Phoenix unit continue to systematically destroy Russian army resources using FPV drones. Ukrainian defenders mined the enemy's supply routes, and thanks to the precise calculations of the kamikaze drone operator, the destruction of the Russian armored vehicle was extremely impressive. At the same time, the occupiers continued to fire from it. Russian assault troops are also trying to fend off Ukrainian drones with cloaks, throwing rifles at them, and hiding under covers. But the result is always the same: the target is hit and the enemy is eliminated. Also, in the Donetsk region, operators from the PTAX and Magyara unmanned systems forces detected and struck the enemy's Tor M2 anti-aircraft missile system. It is capable of simultaneously tracking dozens of targets, detecting them at a considerable distance, and engaging a wide range of aerial objects. Over the past day, Ukraine's defense forces eliminated 980 Russian soldiers. The total losses of the Russian army have exceeded 1,269,000 military personnel. Additionally, the armed forces destroyed a total of 32 artillery systems, 2 multiple rocket launchers, 4 armored combat vehicles, 5 main battle tanks, as well as 232 units of various enemy vehicles and fuel trucks.
Let's continue discussing what's happening at the front with our guest. Military analyst Denis Popovich is joining the Freedom Broadcast. Denis, good morning and glory to Ukraine.
Welcome.
Glory to the Euros.
The General Staff of Ukraine is reporting over 100 combat clashes. And judging by the report, we're seeing about the same number of attacks in the key directions. So what does this mean right now? What is it saying? Can we say that, in fact, this so-called spring offensive has begun? And as I understand it, they're now trying to push one way or another along the entire front line.
No one is going to officially announce the start of the spring offensive.
Let's draw our own conclusions from what we see. I
Can't tell you right now whether it has started or not. But the fact that the number of clashes is distributed this way suggests that it shows where the enemy is trying to focus their attention. That's for sure. So we can see that it's still the south of Ukraine. We see that it's still the Pokrovsk direction and so on. In other words, those are the areas where the enemy is pushing and continues to push the hardest.
Well, based on the latest reports, what kind of tactics do you think we should expect from the Russians in the near future? So the Vostok troop grouping reports that the Russians are preparing to intensify their offensive, particularly in the Pokrovsk-Mirnarhad agglomeration. Our defenders from the 11th Army Corps also report that the Russian army is preparing to strengthen its forces for an assault, particularly in the Kramatorsk direction. So speaking about the Donetsk region, what do you think will happen there in the near future? What do you think will happen considering these Russian occupiers are operating under the false illusion that they're capable of successfully resolving these issues? The issue of the Donetsk region by April 1st already.
Yeah, no. Well, those illusions need to be let go of right away. They will not close the issue of the Donetsk region from April 1st to April 1st. Well, this is completely impossible. This will be another postponement. Deadline is right. I guarantee you everything with the patient. Now they will try to seal it completely. Pokrovsk. There still are positions in the northern part of the city, after which they will obviously switch to Kostyantynivka. They're advancing on Kostyantynivka from different directions. We can see this on the map. And at the same time, they will be advancing on the Slavyansk-Kramatorsk agglomeration from the east. They are gradually trying to get closer there. So their task for the coming months, or maybe even years, is to capture the Donetsk region.
What do you think? Actually, there's also this report that Vasilyanka and Malia Sherbaki in the Zaporizhia region are under the control of the defense forces. This was reported by the spokesperson for the Southern Defense Forces, Voloshin. And, in fact, he refuted yet another fake about these settlements being captured by Russian occupiers. And this is despite the fact that just a few days ago, 3 or 4 days at most, if I'm not mistaken, he himself actually had to. Talk about yet another fake. Only that time, the settlement in question was the Lesnichny, near Huliaipole in the Zaporizhia region. So once again, we're dealing with this practice of creating so-called credit capture maps. Basically, there's really no other way to call it. And then essentially what happens is that these commanders attempt to carefully align this credit map with the actual physical terrain map. But honestly, they don't really have any extra resources for that. So what ends up happening is they send into They throw everything they can into these meat grinder assaults, but there's not much they actually can send. Do you think they can't rest easy because they want to be like Kazovlev, and that's why they're after some kind of medal too? Or what's the point of this whole recent tactic, these credit captures?
But this was happening even before Kazovlev. They were grabbing credit, a bunch of territory. I think right now, Aviary has already been captured or something like that, even though fighting is still going on for that city. Even before Kuzovlev, they were claiming that Kupiansk had been captured. Even before Kuzovlev, they said Pokrovo had been taken. But even now, as I've already mentioned, Ukrainian forces still hold positions on the outskirts, in the northern part of the city. You see, this tactic of capturing on credit is still going on, keeps going, and will continue. They send in teams of flag planters. They go there just to stick their flags in and claim the territory has been captured on credit so they can paint themselves a victory, earn some stars, get some leave, get a bonus, a cash reward, and so on. And then what happens is a commission arrives, the top commission from Army headquarters, the same one that claimed the territory was captured on credit. And they come to the conclusion that in reality, these credits need to be reduced by about 10, 15, or even 20. And the actual positions of the Russian army are much farther east than what they report. So everything will just keep going the same way for them. So basically, they plant a flag, record it on video, and then either the people who planted the flag leave or drones knock the flag down. But still, the reports go up the chain all the way to the top. The command then publicly announces that the territory is under Russian army control, even though that's far from the truth, and more often than not, it's actually the complete opposite.